Welcome, Boerne. Hey, listen, thanks for tuning in to the Boerne Brew this morning on Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. My name's Jeff Flinn. I'm the managing editor at the Boerne Star newspaper. We get with the Boerne Radio folks here once a week for news, every other week for sports. We'd like to talk to people about issues, about newsmakers, about events, about things going on today, about the week, about the month, about the year, whatever it might be. We want to talk about an important one today. I've got Lori Houck here from Transformation House. Say hello, Lori.
Hello. How are you?
Good. She's dressed in purple. Purple was the color of the day. We record this on Thursday, just a couple days ago, and Thursday was Go Purple Day, right, Lori?
That's right.
Well, this is, for those who are not aware, last week was the Walk the Mile week before.
Walk the Mile was the weekend before, yeah.
Okay, it seems like it's just a couple days ago. Now it's a month ago.
Yeah.
It's marking National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That's the whole month, and purple's the color of the month. There was plenty of purple that day in Boerne as people walked the mile and heard speakers and received information that's vital. It was about survivor awareness, correct?
It was raising awareness for survivors about all of the great services that are available here in Boerne and Kendall County.
Yeah, we've got Transformation House. The ones that come to mind are Kendall County Women's Shelter, Transformation House, the Kendall County Mental Health.
MHDD, yep. MHDD was there.
Right, and they came together, and the city, the police department's addressing it, the Kendall County Sheriff's Office is starting to address it. And that was more of a mental health aspect, but this is as involved in that as in a mental health issue. You want to tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the Transformation House and give us a briefing of what Transformation does for the women who come to your forum.
Sure. Transformation House was started almost exactly 7 years ago today. We were formed out of a desire to give the women and children in our area the support and the tools that they needed to rebuild their lives after having experienced abuse. So one of our most intensive services is our transitional housing, which is exactly what it sounds like, free and temporary housing for women and children to utilize while they're rebuilding. But then we also have a whole host of support services like therapy and case management and mentoring and play therapy for kiddos, because it's not just about the housing, it's about learning some new skills and experiencing some healing while you're recovering and rebuilding from that trauma.
Right. I always give a shout out or a salute or a tip of the hat to Stacy Almager, former Hill Country Family Services Director, and she's doing another thing now, but she was one of my first guests, and she said, Jeff, people in Boerne take it for granted that Boerne has, I think the average house price is $468,000 or something like that. Fair Oaks even $600,000. She says, we have issues. We have poverty issues here. We have people go hungry here. We have people who struggle here. And Boerne's not known for that, but we have to take care of that. Sometimes the spotlight doesn't shine on our issues until it's too late.
That's absolutely true. And domestic violence doesn't discriminate. 1 in 3 women, regardless of socioeconomic status or age, race, religion, it's really, unfortunately, far more common than most people realize.
In my former job working in San Antonio, we covered the 2020, I think it was April or May, the food giveaway at Wolf Stadium. And I got a call that morning and said, Jeff, come down here. We need help covering. They had 10,000 people go through the San Antonio Food Bank line.
Yeah.
And we talked to a lot of them. A lot of them didn't want to talk on the record, but I wanted to talk off the record with them. And so many of them said, I never expected to be in this position.
Sure.
I never expected in my job with both my wife and I, or my husband and I, gainfully employed for decades, we never thought we'd be in a line for food.
Sure.
You know, and that's the air quotes. I never expected it to happen to me.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, most survivors don't begin a relationship with that in mind. Relationships don't start out in that state. They evolve into abuse over time.
Right. I mean, the vows, for better, for worse, for richer, or for poorer, there's nothing in there about domestic violence. And
Sure.
It's not part of our vows. But sometimes those vows spin out of control. Lori, we have somebody on the line with us. You want to talk a little bit about who we have here with us today?
Sure. We have Bailey with us today. Bailey was a client of ours. She took advantage of some of our services. She's a tremendous person, and she has put in a lot of hard work. And we love to give her the opportunity to talk about what she's accomplished and how far she's come. And she's always a great advocate for raising awareness for domestic violence.
I think sometimes my father had a heart transplant, and it's one of those things where you thought you were like you're on an island because not many people in the United States have heart transplants. And then he was put into a field of heart transplant recipients and those waiting for heart transplants. They sat down and they got to talk about all the issues about waiting 2 weeks or 2 months and what's the process and how do you recover and what's recovery like and what's rejection and all that kind of stuff. So he learned a lot that he had no idea about when they said, we're going to have to get a heart transplant.
Sure.
That's another, I never expected it to happen to me type situation. Bailey, hey, thank you for doing this phone hookup here. Tell us about coming out of Transformation House. How long were you in there? And tell us about what you received through Transformation House that has you on the road where you are today.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor. I love any opportunity to bring awareness to the cause. Transformation House is near and dear to my heart. Any way that I can give back and speak over this amazing organization is an opportunity for me to jump on. But I got to be a part of the program for 2 years, which is, I believe, very unique opportunity for women that are affected by domestic violence. There's incredible resources out there that help find shelter and in the middle of it, but it's afterwards that I was really struggling with. Going back into society and everyday life from such a transition was something that I was struggling with and couldn't function well. I became a single mom with 2 kids when I left my abusive situation, and going back into society was difficult. When I found Transformation House, it was just such a life-changing experience where I was able to receive everything from their case management to even resilience training, psychoeducation on how my body was reacting and why it was okay my body was reacting the way that it did. Knowledge really was power for me. I felt like I was a failure and I had tried everything, but I was just stuck and in this frozen place. And it's nowhere that anybody wants to be. And a victim coming out of that situation, you don't want to be seen as a victim forever. You want to be able to come out on top of this. And I really couldn't have done that without the care that I was provided for by Transformation House. So they have an amazing therapy program, and I took advantage of all of it. And I was going 2 to 3 times a week. I was an off-campus patient, but I would go 2 to 3 times a week to get the assistance I needed to become successful at the end of the day.
When you get out of your abusive situation, how long was it after you found Transformation House, you got involved with Lori and all the other folks there? How long was it before you let yourself have that deep sigh of relief? For those of us who aren't in abusive situations, when somebody says, I can imagine what you're going through, we can't. We can't imagine. And even another person being abused can't know what you went through because every case is individualized. To me, I think it would be like the last resort because I think people try to stay in a relationship as long as they possibly can to make it work. Maybe tomorrow will be different. Maybe next week a birthday's coming up, or we have Valentine's Day, or it's Easter and we stay together for the kids, and there's all that kind of stuff. And then there's that last moment when you say, I'm out of here. And that's when you make the break and you find Transformation House. How long into Transformation House do you finally get that where I can breathe? I'm not pressed. I'm not anguished. I'm not anxious and having anxiety attacks on a regular basis.
I think it's important to know that healing isn't a linear process, and it does take time, and it's different for everybody. For me, the situation that I was in, it took me 7 attempts to leave. So it's not like why didn't you just leave? It was a process. Like there's financial issues, there's emotional, psychological manipulation. Like that's a powerful tool that was used against me, especially having 2 small children. So when I finally was able to break free, it took me still a month or 2 to even feel well enough to seek out more help. I thought when I left, that would be the end of it and I would be better. And boy, was I wrong.
Right.
We call it what I know now is a delayed trauma response. Like my body was fighting during my experience to survive, and I was able to continue day to day. But once I got out of it, that was almost like a reverse where it was difficult. I was afraid I would go back, and I wasn't confident in myself that I could do this on my own. So that was just a place for me where I really needed this healing. So when I was able to walk into Transformation House and we started a plan, I remember taking the questionnaires of different levels of depression or PTSD I had. And those were just like on a very sad number. And so once we started to build my own personal plan, it took me just going in those first few weeks, that getting there through the door was the first thing that helped me build that confidence. Like, these people were so kind and patient with me. There was no judgment. I was worried about why didn't you leave sooner? We could have done more, but no, nothing like that. So we were able to create a plan for me that was customizable. Well, within that first month, I was already a new person.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal for me, was to be able to come out on top and understand like why my body was reacting. Because I felt defeated. I thought once I had left, like I wasn't automatically going to be better, but I was so wrong. And because of the tools that they gave me and the therapy, I was able to recognize and realize why my body and my brain were reacting this way, that it was totally okay to have a delayed response and that I was okay where I was.
Hey, folks, my name's Jeff Flinn. I'm the managing editor at the Boerne Star newspaper. You listen to Boerne Brew on 103.9 FM Boerne Radio. We thank them for allowing us to come in. Today, we're talking with Lori Houck at the Transformation House about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is a month we had to walk the mile a couple weekends ago down at the courthouse. Well attended, good speakers, and information was made available to those. Had a large turnout of youth, and it starts there.
Absolutely.
The understanding starts there.
Well, it does, and that's when relationships are generally started, and habits are formed oftentimes when teens start to date. So we loved the turnout with all the teens getting to learn a little bit about what a healthy relationship might look like and what the resources in town are if one finds oneself in an unhealthy relationship.
And we have on the line Bailey. She's a success story. She's one of the people who has come out of Transformation House, and she's talking to us a little bit, telling us a little bit about her situation, how she's overcome things. And Bailey, what you said earlier just had me shaking my head up and down, yes, and left and right, no. So, I mean, agreeing with you, like, you mentioned 7 times, trying to escape something 7 times, and you have kids, there's kids involved, and there's so many things until you finally hit Transformation House. And Bailey, summarize how Transformation House offered you more than what you thought you needed. You mentioned that you thought just breaking away was going to make it better, but it didn't. Talk to us about that, Bailey.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest challenges I wasn't expecting was how disappointed I would be in myself and how I had zero confidence when I leave the situation. Yes, there was a moment of gratitude and proudness when I was able to finally leave after the 7th time, but then it was just like, what now? So there's an area where I think women really struggle with is the what is next for me after. And it's hard for us to get back into our foot. We were stuck in a terrible situation for so long. Those old patterns are hard to break. But personally, the biggest change that I experienced was how I saw myself. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the resilience training that my case manager offered me. I no longer viewed myself as a victim or someone who was broken. I learned to accept myself and see what my worth truly was. And I now can handle everyday challenges with that strength and resilience from the training that I received from the EDMR therapy, instead of just feeling overwhelmed and constant anxieties of how I would be able to make it without the life that I used to have. Was just a freeing experience to walk through that, talk through that. Cognitive brain was working a certain way. It was just really empowering to know the science behind what happens to women who experience traumatic situations like I did and be able to have the proper tools to heal from that.
How long were you in a relationship, and how long the time period did the 7 attempts to leave cover?
So for me, I was really young when I had met my partner. I was 19 and eventually married, and our relationship was around 8 to 10 years with dating and marriage. So I was really young. I really experienced something where I think a lot of women who have been in my situation, we don't go in expecting, and I think Lori touched base on this earlier, we don't go in expecting dating somebody who is unkind to us.
Right.
You don't even know what's happening until it's actually happening. And that might sometimes be a little bit further down the line. So for me, there was just having the 2 small children and then the cycle of abuse that led to leaving and returning multiple times. So he struggled with addiction and he had controlling and abusive behavior that created just this fearful instability environment for me. But I also felt trapped. I had 2 small children. I was unsure how to file for divorce. There weren't a lot of resources and I had no idea how to handle this. So when my tools, even like religion or family, were used against me, it just made me feel really guilty. And I was failing my family if I left. My confidence was just shattered and I didn't have any strength to get out of the situation. But finally, when I reached my dropping point and I knew it was time to leave and nothing truly was going to get better no matter what I did, I had help and started opening up to my family about truly what was happening, because we do a great job at hiding these things and you might not even know people in your community, and especially rural areas like Boerne, there's a lot of, unfortunately, situations like this. So like having something like Transformation House reach these areas is just really important to all communities.
So you were one of those, I never thought it would happen to me, air quote folks, correct?
Of course, correct.
Yeah.
So we grow up as the little kids watching the movies, and you see a scary movie, like that'll never happen to me. I would notice the signs and I would leave, but truly signs aren't always the first thing you see.
Right. Would you say you had a huge lack of self-esteem, or had your self-esteem been crushed?
Well, my self-esteem was crushed. I mean, every manipulation tactic was used against me financially. I was a stay-at-home mom, which is a situation that really is close to my heart. When women don't have a job out in the workforce, they're stuck at home. There's no one to talk to or let them know. It's an easy way to be trapped and to start believing those lies that you're hearing every single day. So I had to do a lot of work on learning these lies and teaching my brain that that is not the truth, and I won't let that happen to me again.
You interacted with Transformation House for about 2 years, correct?
Correct.
What point did you realize, okay, I'm ready to go out on my own? I think they've helped me enough that I'm ready to step out and be Bailey the survivor instead of Bailey the Transformation House client?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, because of all the different programs that were offered, I specifically remember working with my case manager, Anne, who was fabulous, and we were going over areas of expertise in the workforce. So like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years, and I hadn't been in the workforce very long before that. So we were working together on what areas I would be good at, where I'd be confident at. And that was a struggle for me on those first couple months working on them. But a year later, it was just a point where we were able to talk together and find some things that I had hobbies for, because when I left, I didn't even know what my favorite color was when I left. I was just such in survival mode. I knew nothing about myself. I was just a mom who was trying to make it through the day without stepping on like the giant's toes or walking around glass. So I had no idea what I could be good at, what I liked, and being able to work with my case manager and dive back into like what was true and what I was good at, I was able to realize, you know what, maybe it is a good idea to start my own business. Like I can still be a mom to these guys. I can still offer my services. So they gave me the confidence by literally walking beside me and going over what truly was my favorite color, what set me apart, what my individualism was, so I could find myself again and be ready to step back into the workforce.
I was going to say, find yourself, rediscover yourself, or realize you didn't know yourself.
I realized I lost myself.
Okay.
Would be the best way to put it. I
Sure.
got lost in the situation I was in. What I can say now is my fight or flight took over, and I was just taking it one day at a time to survive for the United States. And rediscovering myself became something that I started a journey with Transformation House. And now I can say 3 years later that I'm the happiest I can have been. My
Good.
children are happy.
Good.
And I've learned it all from all the programs from Transformation House.
My name is Jeff Flinn. You're listening to Bailey, and I've got Lori Houck here, the Executive Director of Transformation House. We're talking about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Bailey's a survivor. She came out of her situation with folks from Transformation House. She's been filling us in a little bit about her situation. Bailey, are you where you want to be? What's the future hold for Bailey?
Yeah, I am where I want to be. I'm really happy now. I actually just recently moved to Austin with me and my kids. They're thriving. They're loving their school. I started a successful business, and it's doing super well, and I'm able to provide for my children, which I would have never thought I could be here. We have an amazing community, and it's completely different than the spot I was in 3 years ago. So I'm super grateful and owe a lot of that to Transformation House.
Right. Do you want to put a plug in for what you do? Is that something Boerne can log on and find, or do you have something that's Austin or Cedar Park or Pflugerville exclusive?
Yeah. So I actually discovered that I love creating weddings and events. So I started my own event planning business, and I serve the Hill Country, San Antonio, Austin area, which has been such a fun ride. I've gotten the best time to meet vendors in the industry. I've even, because of this job, have gotten to meet people that have gone through similar situations. So It's Bailey Joe Events, and I'm available on Instagram at Bailey Joe Events. And yeah, I'm really excited for the growth that it's been doing. We're going into fall wedding season right now, so it has been crazy fun.
Good. And think about it. You are now helping people with weddings and planning and something that when you were going at, you were probably just as excited and as thrilled with what was going on as they were at this time in their lives.
Yeah, so it is a total 360. I'm such a more mindful peer person now, and I really bring a lot of the things that I learned through Transformation House into my business when it comes to being able to handle the pressures and stress of the event industry. Not just going to work, but actually going to work and enjoying something is just a whole 360.
And the kids are fine with everything. How old are your children? You mind mentioning, or you don't have to, you don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to pry into your life anymore?
No, of course. No worries. My kids are 6 and 4. They are fabulous. And my oldest, we were lucky we got to experience play therapy through Transformation House, which I'm a huge advocate for. Play therapy was an amazing program for him. He got to play with Miss Liz, who was incredible, and use the moments of play in areas where they can talk and speak and enjoy the time together, but also get the benefits of what life is looking like now for him. He was 4 years old when all of this was going on, so it's really hard to communicate with a 4-year-old like this. Yeah. The fear that they saw. So being able to use a play program, which I 100% plan on doing play therapy as much as possible for any future kids I would ever have, for anything, it's just such an incredible tool for children.
Right. Those things you never knew existed, things you didn't even know were a consideration.
Exactly. He was like, Mom, do we get to do a play today? And I'm like, absolutely. So he loved it.
Good. I've got Lori Houck here. She's the executive director for Transformation House. A lot of smiles over here, Bailey, across the table as you speak. Tell us about how it feels to listen to somebody that came through the program and is now on their own. And you wish that every person who is out there struggling and is in their 5th or 6th attempt to get out, as Bailey did 7, you'd like them to see Bailey.
Absolutely. I'm so stinking proud of Bailey, and she makes it sound easy, but it is hard work, and it can be scary to make that first phone call and ask for help. But that's why I love my work, because the women that we work with are amazing. Like Bailey, she does such a great job of explaining the benefits of the work that we do. It makes me happy to hear her describing the staff that I love so much and the hard work that they put in and the real professional level of therapy and case management, and just the caliber of services that they offer is really amazing. And it's just a real treat to get to listen to somebody describe it firsthand like this. And yeah, it makes my heart happy to hear how well Bailey's doing and how much she benefited.
I opened up the Transformation House website and it said about, and you click on our mission. Tell us a little bit about what Transformation House does. You have a home where clients like Bailey was a non-resident.
Bailey's a non-resident, right?
She didn't stay at the house.
She didn't need to. We have a residential facility where families can live with us, but then we have a team of social workers that supports our residents and non-residents like Bailey. So regardless of where you live, you can access all of the great support services. We have 6 bedrooms, but we're actually looking to expand. Unfortunately, the need is great, and so we're in the middle of a capital campaign to build and double our capacity.
And that's what we want to talk about now, is how can people listening to this and hear Bailey being a success story and understand that, you might have a neighbor, you might have a relative going through this. How do people get in touch with you? How do people help your campaign? What was it you called it?
We have a capital campaign. And the best way is always our website, transformation-house.org. It'll have information about our programs, ways that you can donate, ways that you can volunteer. We have a 5K coming up in December, our annual 5K. We love to hear from the community, and no matter what your interests are, we can plug you in.
I think something we talked about before we went on air was Bailey's with you. She was with about 2 years. She went through about 2 years of work. That's normal, right?
Absolutely.
You guys aren't we take you off the street, we let you breathe, we let your cuts heal, and then then you're on your own.
Right.
You aren't like that.
No, our residents could be with us for 2 years of residence, and then they can stay with us as non-residents. So someone could be with us for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's that air quote, I never expected to be in this situation. I didn't think I would ever be the one.
Right. Right.
Thank you for tuning in, folks. Thank you for listening to Lori. Hey, Bailey, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to tell us a little bit about your story. You're to be lifted up and celebrated, actually.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was an honor.
And Lori, thanks for coming in. National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The day we taped was Go Purple Day. Lori was in her purple. I don't know if Bailey's wearing purple or not. Hey, Bailey, what is your favorite color?
Actually, my favorite color is purple.
Or it is purple. I thought you might say
Yes.
white because you're in that wedding thing, with people. What else have you found out about you? What have you discovered your favorite food is?
Oh, my favorite food, hands down, is going to be chips and queso.
Nothing beats chips and queso on a Saturday afternoon watching a football game for me. So, hey, Lori, thank you very much. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in. Come in next Saturday. Carrie Barboza will come in with sports. There's a lot of sports news going on right now. We thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Roland, for Barron, for Boerne Radio allowing us to come in and share a moment with you. So, listen, folks, thanks for your time today. Hey, take care. Have a great weekend, and God bless.